Hi everyone, my name's CJ Archer. I'm the author of The Watchmaker's Daughter. Thank you for inviting me to your book club. I've got some questions to answer for you, but I just want to let you know that in case there's a bit of noise in the background, it's just my cat, Coco, sitting there. She's trying to ignore me, but she's got a really loud purr, so I hope it's not too off-putting. My first question that you guys have sent is, can you tell us what part of the world you are based? Have you been in the UK before? So most of my books are set in England. I live in Australia. I'm in Melbourne, where it's winter and cold at the moment and pretty miserable outside. I've been to England a few times. Thank you, Coco. But most of my research I do online. Why did you choose to write in this genre? Well, I write historical fantasies mostly, and with some mystery. I love history and anything historical. It doesn't matter what time period it is. I love it all. So it was kind of a no-brainer to focus on history, and I chose the Victorian period probably because it's the closest in time to what we have now, which makes research a bit easier. There's a lot of resources online that I can use. So, but as to fantasy, well, there's no real explanation for that. I just had some ideas and they happened to be in the fantasy genre, so that's what I went with. Question 3 is, The Witchblade Chronicles were your first published books, and has your writing changed since then? I'm not actually sure if they were my first published books. It's been a while now. They were very close to the beginning. I don't know if my writing has changed. I'm sure it has. I hope it's improved. It's probably a question for my long-time readers, who they could probably answer it better than me, because I don't actually go back and reread my older stuff. I do hope I've improved, though. I'm sure I have. Question 4. You have written around 44 books in 9 years and have 11 series. Would you revisit any of them again in the future? Is there any of your novels that you would rewrite? I don't imagine I will ever revisit them. I want to remember them fondly as they are, and I kind of worry that if I do reread them, that I will not have the same, I won't love them as much as I did at the time. So I think they're better left as they are, and I have new ideas that capture my interest now, that I'd like to explore those ideas and those stories rather than what I feel like would be going backwards. Question 5. Do you have time for hobbies? Haha. If so, what are they? Well, I would have time, but I have 2 kids who are teenagers, and they're very busy kids. They have a bit of after-school sports, and there's a lot of running around with them. So I write while they're at school, and then after school it's, got to get dinner ready, got to take someone to soccer training, or got to take someone else here or someone else there. So I don't really have a lot of time for hobbies, and when I do have spare time, I tend to read or just chill out and watch telly. Question 6. What's your personal favourite of all your novels? Okay, this is one I get a fair bit, and it's really hard, and I know this has probably been said by a lot of other authors, but it's like picking a favourite child. Your books as your children, they're different and you can't compare them. So to choose one over the other is virtually impossible. And I can honestly say I've liked different books or different series for different reasons. So it might be because I found a book quite easy to write, and that makes it a favourite. But on the other hand, there might be a character that was very difficult to get right, and I feel like I nailed it. And one of those is probably the Ministry of Curiosities series, where Lincoln Fitzroy is a thoroughly unlikable character, and yet I had to make him a hero. And I battled with him a lot. And as a writer, I feel like because I was never in his point of view, the reader is never in his point of view, it actually made it even harder. And I kind of made it difficult for myself writing it that way and wanting him to be unlikable at the start, although he does change, obviously, over the books. But for that reason, I feel like he was hard to write, but I also feel like I nailed him in the end. Nailed getting his character right in the end. And that made that series stand out for me and one of my favourites. But there are other reasons that I have favourites. It could be because I feel like the heroine is similar to me in character, or there's a particular issue that comes up in the book that is close to my heart. So there's all sorts of different reasons why a book or a series becomes a favourite. But usually my favourite book, if you ask me at any particular time, is the next book I'm going to write, because that's the one that's capturing my interest at the moment. Question 7. Tell us about any other jobs you've done, apart from being a great author, that is, thanks, including being a librarian. So I was a librarian at a law firm, not a public librarian, and I quickly learned that it was pretty boring. Law is not my thing. So I left that profession. I actually moved into software. It was a software company that made software for libraries. So I moved into that and I became a technical writer. That was also quite dull. And then I wrote all that time in my spare time while I was working for many years, so probably 15 years of working full time. I was writing in my spare time. So that's what my other jobs have been. What did you read as a child and who inspired you to write? I read a lot of Trixie Belden. I devoured the Trixie Belden books as soon as I came out. I remember that. I've read, constantly as a child, and I was read to before I could learn. I learned to read by my parents. But picking a particular author or book or anything like that would probably be too hard. I don't really have a specific inspiration that's an author or a particular series or anything like that. Question 9. Your description of the places in The Watchmaker's Daughter are very detailed. Had you visited any of the locations before writing the book? Yeah, so I said at the beginning, I live in Melbourne, Australia. The Watchmaker's Daughter is set in London. I've been to London, I think, 3 times now over a 20-year period. The most recent time was a year and a half ago. Went back with the family. So I'd visited some of the locations, but not really. And the first 2 times I wasn't writing books set in London, so I wasn't sort of looking for locations or anything like that. But Google is my friend, and Google Earth Street View is fantastic. And I find just the resources online are really helpful. And because my books are set in the past, it's not that I particularly need to know or visit the places now, because obviously things have changed. So it's important to me to read as many primary resources as I can, not just to find out what that location looked like back in the day, but to get the feel of it. So the sounds, the smells, that sort of thing. And the last question, often writers do include some of their own traits into characters in their books. Who in this book do you most identify with? So I would say my main characters are often either a better version of me or the me I wish I could be. So a braver me, or maybe a more compassionate me, sometimes more patient, definitely. I probably most identify with India, and I think I generally could say I identify with the main female character in my books more than any of the others. India is definitely, however, a better version of me, or the me I wish I could be. Thank you very much for your questions, and I do hope you enjoy The Watchmaker's Daughter if you haven't finished it. and maybe we'll continue with the rest of the series. Thank you. Bye.